Greg Clark, nice to finally get to set this up. I know I met you at the Chili Cook-Off a couple of months ago. How's your campaign been going?
Yeah, great to see you again, Gary. Campaign's been going great. I'm getting out in the community, meeting tons of great people, getting an opportunity to hear about the issues that are important. I'm loving it. It just suits me perfectly.
Yeah, it's a lot of work campaigning, but at least you only have to campaign within one district. Those guys that campaign countywide, I don't know how they do it.
Uh, I mean, don't get me started. I've talked to my wife so many times about how these national candidates do it too. I mean,
Yeah,
it's crazy. This is
yeah,
just right for me, for sure.
yeah, yeah. So what made you decide to run for supervisor now?
So I moved back to El Dorado County after going to school and starting my family.
Mhm.
And one of the things I wanted to do when I came back was to get into public service. And so I ran for the Gold Trail Union School District School Board in 2022.
Mhm.
Um, and I've been doing that for the last 4 years, with been board president the last three. And then the opportunity came up to run for supervisor, and I was looking at the state of the county, and I was thinking about my children and my desire to have them have a really wonderful, safe, and rural place to move back to if they decided to raise a family here after they finish high school. And so that was really my motivation to get started.
Awesome. So I know I met you when you were there with Lori Parlin, and I guess she's officially endorsed you, right? So
That's correct.
uh,
That's
yeah.
correct.
So maybe just share what the District 4 is going to get that's like Lori, or and what kind of new that you bring policy wise, and how do you compare her kind of political philosophy with what you bring?
Sure. So I will be resolute in following the general plan. The
Hmm.
general plan is very important. It's a document that voters have voted on. They've decided what they want their county to look like, and I
Yep.
deeply respect how uh, you know voters have weighed in through the process in making their feelings known. And so I would follow the general plan strictly. I know it's going to be coming up for review. That process has already begun. And so I'd look forward to taking part in that process. Lori and I, we've been campaigning together for the last couple months. I really
Hmm.
appreciate her endorsement. She's been very helpful, and I'm very thankful for her support. I should also point out I also have the endorsement of Penny Humphreys, another former District 4
Okay.
supervisor, as well as Mr. Briggs, Ron Briggs. These folks, I'm very, very lucky to have their blessing and to have their approval that they think I can do this job. And I think I can do this job.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to say I have a pretty good working relationship with Supervisor Parlin since my grand jury days. She was a huge supporter of the grand jury, and I have to talk with her a lot about issues, and asked her for an endorsement in my race for the CSD. And she was very hesitant to give out endorsements, she said. So you must be have passed the bar. So I have to give her a hard time about that.
I guess so. I guess so.
So what do you think one of the top priorities are for District 4 residents that you think you can really make a difference?
So I've been spending a lot of time on the divide, and what I hear a lot about out there is fire. I also
Hmm.
live in an area where fire is a concern. I live near the Cold Springs Golf Course in unincorporated Placerville, and it's a terrifying prospect that there might be a catastrophic fire that could come through and damage everyone's property, or worse, cause loss of life. And so that's where I plan to spend a lot of my focus, is ensuring that District 4 can remain prepared for the hopefully the unlikely event of catastrophic fire.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about kind of the growth question and development and land use issues. So what's your philosophy on balancing growth and preserving rural character? I know your district is largely rural and spread out. You mentioned the wildfire issue. So what does that mean to you? And I know Supervisor Parlin has been maybe known for being slow on growth issues and business growth particularly. So you want to comment on that?
Sure. Yeah, I'm slow on growth as well. I'm concerned that if we grow too quickly, and in some of the areas in District 4, that we're also going to be causing ourselves safety issues in terms of
Hmm.
fire. I mean,
Hmm.
most of District 4 is very rural. We have a lot of 2-lane roads, and I'm very concerned that we would put, basically, I'm talking about residential growth at this point, but residences out there, other sort of residential developments, and then not be able to get people out if there's a problem, right?
Hmm.
The general plan addresses this well. The general plan says there are areas where we can focus our residential growth, and I think that that works. There's already infrastructure in and around Highway 50 and the other community centers that we have.
Hmm.
And so if there were projects that came through that were, the intent was to place them in those areas, I would be more open to that. Whereas if you're coming to the table with a project that's going to require a bunch of zoning changes and modifications of the general plan, that's going to be a much, much more difficult, much longer conversation for me.
I see. So I'm the El Dorado Hills insider, and you get to vote on projects all throughout the county. What's your thought on a controversial project we have down here, which is the new Costco in El Dorado Hills, which is kind of going through the final stages of the draft DIR and the planning process?
So El Dorado Hills is one of those places where it's okay to do these larger sorts of developments. I will say I'm always in favor of taking money out of Sacramento County's pocket and putting it in our pocket. I do understand that there are concerns, right? The parking areas, this big development near a residential district or residential area. I understand that too. I have children. I don't want them being placed in harm's way when they're going to school because of increased traffic and that sort of thing. So, I don't have a huge problem with the Costco plan so long as they take the appropriate steps to mitigate any safety concerns that that residents in that area raise. I'm very concerned about what residents want. I mean, they're the voters. I work for them. I don't work for my interests. And so I have an open ear to anyone who wants to come and talk about those issues.
Yeah, awesome. So the Georgetown Airport is in your district. We looked at that when I was on the grand jury. It's money losing and funded out of the general fund because it can't sustain itself as an enterprise. There's a viable business that's operating out of the airport that has complained that the county's kind of discouraged his business expansion. What do you think should be done about the airport? It's not widely used. It's a bit of a cost sink. And what should we do about businesses that want to be there?
Well, Gary, I won't lie to you. I don't have a lot of information on that issue.
Yep.
And, I don't like to opine on things that I don't know about. And so I will thank you for bringing that issue to my attention. And then if there's an opportunity to come back on, I would love to address that issue with you.
Oh, that's very fair. A lot of people don't know there's an airport in Georgetown. So let's talk about kind of traffic, roads, and infrastructure. So
Sure.
Whenever I go out and talk to people throughout the county, road maintenance has always gotten to be a big issue.
Mhm.
And I know it's an expensive cost sink for the county. How do you feel the county's doing? How should we prioritize kind of maintenance versus expansion? And get your thoughts on that.
Sure. So I see roads and road maintenance as a safety issue, again, because of fire. We have to be able to get people in and out. We have to be able to get engines in and out to suppress any fire that might occur or just for general safety. And so I would prioritize maintenance over expansion because I don't want to be spending money somewhere just to ease a traffic burden where it might cause danger to someone that's deeply embedded in my district. And so maintenance first, expansion second.
Okay. Do you know about the issue that came before the board recently with the, I think it was a AM/PM mini mart gas station at Duroc Road there?
Yeah, in Shingle Springs.
Do you think the board got that right? And what would you do about the congestion there around that intersection with school getting in and out?
So I think the board made the best decision they could by putting off the development until after such time that ground could break on expanding the roundabouts and doing the construction that's on that interchange there. I mean, an AM/PM, it may not increase traffic congestion there. Traffic's already pretty bad at that intersection. I mean,
It's very bad.
I come up Shingle Road from Lotus, right? And you turn the corner near the Adventist school, I believe it is, right there. And traffic's all the way backed up already all the way to there.
Mm-hmm.
So whether or not this AM/PM is really going to be adding all of this traffic or not, I mean, I think they did the best that they can to say, look, at least we'll be able to put this off until such time that the interchange can handle it. And I believe that's 2028 is what the board says.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah.
So one of the main questions is, the county budget was, at a shortfall of like $20 million this year. It looks like they're going to be hard pressed to reduce that over the next few years. What would be your take on how to address that? Are there services that we can cut? Do you try to grow revenue somehow? Where are there opportunities to do that? And so what do you do about the budget shortfall? Because unlike the federal government, we don't get to print money.
Right. I mean, I'm hesitant to cut services. Cutting services often impacts those folks who are least likely to bear that burden. Obviously we want to increase our ability to bring in revenue. I'd be hopeful and would work towards policies that would increase people's ability to start businesses here, act as entrepreneurs, and bring in additional sales tax revenue and other revenue to the county. That's where I would focus. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, I think there was a second part of the question and it escaped me. Did I?
Well, it's just a matter of, if there's nothing to cut, how do you close the budget shortfall gap by raising revenue? Or do you think there's any waste or inefficiency? I mean, there could be ways of keeping the services the same, but you can be more efficient through, I don't know, better IT processes or moving along.
Thanks for that, Lead. I run a small business, and there's always ways to become more efficient. There is additional or new technology that could come in that we could integrate into county processes. We would want to weigh how that would affect our workers. I mean, specifically, I'm thinking about the use of artificial intelligence. Although the way government usually adopts technology is, we'll probably have that here in like 15 years. That's been my experience with the state courts, is they're usually about 10, 15 years behind the trend there. But again, I've been using a little bit of AI in my practice, and it has brought cost savings to my clients because I don't have to spend as much time researching or drafting. I mean, I would be careful because you don't want to impact your workers in such a way that now they don't have any work. I mean, that would be my biggest concern about bringing in that sort of technology, is that we're basically bringing it in to replace and displace our county workers, people who work hard, are trying to raise their families here. And that would be counter to my purpose for running. I want to make El Dorado County a good place where you can raise a family and own a home and send them to good schools. So, but you got to look at all options. I mean, I heard a lot that on the campaign trail that people are frustrated with how things work when they're trying to get permits or they're trying to get other things through or out of the county. And I think you need to make us more customer friendly, make the county more efficient, and then hopefully you're able to increase revenue with those efficiencies.
Yeah. I have to provide a little bit of an editorial here. Since you brought it up, I'm a big artificial intelligence guy, big fan, and advocate the county using it. But I attended a meeting down in Sacramento this week with the Special Districts Association, and we were lobbying on behalf of the association a couple of bills where they're trying to restrict the use of AI because it does replace workers, and they want to limit or eliminate the use of worker data in training the AI system that might replace a human. And I think the bill itself is a complete disaster. Even if their heart is in the right place and you want to kind of protect jobs, and they don't know how to define what an artificial intelligence system is. They don't really have a good working definition for worker data. They can't imagine the use cases that are more than 6 months out. So, what do you do about Microsoft Word that embeds, artificial intelligence for next word generation and things like that? So It's crazy what government thinks about some of these, more advanced technical issues,
Yeah.
and how they can really be destructive to the benefits.
Well, I'll just note as a quick aside, a little interviewee prerogative here, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
I'm
please.
also deeply concerned about using AI in my practice, because I do feel like I'm training this robot to replace me, right?
Yeah,
And they're obviously, as a user, you get better with it. It makes you more efficient, and then you can do other things. And
exactly.
maybe the fears are misplaced, but every time I use it to do a research question, I think, okay, how is this going to end up and cost me a little bit of cash going forward? So
Yeah, I think if anything, like you're saying, it will allow us to deliver better services more frequently, quicker, with better user experience to the public overall, and it's not going to replace that many headcount.
yeah.
All right, let's talk about kind of the transparency and trust issues within the county. Do you believe the county's transparent enough? And how would you address this now frequent concern about the public comment period at board meetings, where they kind of moved the 3-minute comment period way to the beginning, and the supervisor really don't have a chance to respond to issues at the time?
Sure. So as far as transparency goes, I think of this issue as, is the information available? And
Mhm.
if it is, can people actually access it? Right.
Mhm.
So in preparing for my run and in learning anything about the county, it is difficult to find information on the county's websites, because the websites and other research places you go for research are difficult to navigate and often jump
Mhm.
you around to many different places. And so to that extent, I think there are transparency issues, and that could be something that could be addressed with better IT, better technology, or just a general update of the websites. I mean, I'm trained in research. I know how to find things. And so what's difficult for me, I think, is probably very difficult for someone who's maybe not an attorney or doesn't do research every single
Mhm.
day.
Yeah.
Now, as far as public comment, which I think is the real question you want me to answer, I think that the public must be heard.
Mhm.
I think that it is difficult to address all the issues that the board is going to address in a meeting in 3 minutes. And so I I do understand, because I run meetings, that when you're on a board and you have staff there, you want your meetings to be efficient and run timely and not last
Yeah.
forever and a day, that there are costs associated with that as well. But making sure that people can address their elected leaders in a public forum where the leader must listen, and you don't respond, but you do respond in your conversations with your fellow board members. I think that's really important.
Yeah.
I think that this could also be addressed with technology, right? We have, you go in and you go onto the board's website and you can see that people are submitting emails as public comment. People are attending via, is it Zoom or Teams, one of the teleconferencing apps. I think that's all great. But the real problem is you just need a little bit more time. And so, I know the board has delayed further action on this to a
Mhm.
later date. I don't recall the actual date, I'm sorry, but within a few months, to assess how the new policy is going. And I do hope that they look at public access, and if they do think that it needs to stay a 3-minute period, find a way to educate the public on other ways that they can have their feelings on issues heard.
Yeah. Yeah. And to your point about finding information, yeah, I think the website is difficult to navigate, or it's very limited. But when I'm doing research, you almost have to go through Legistar and find the topic, and then get all of the background documents that were submitted, and go back historically. And not enough people really know how to use Legistar to
Yeah.
find relevant documents on what their concerns are. But it takes time. And we have all those same problems down on our CSD board too, about,
Oh yeah.
length
I
of
mean,
meetings and how to make information available. And we're thinking maybe just put all the documents online and searchable through
yeah, I think that would be great. I mean, this is sort of, you can sort of put this in the customer service sort of bucket, right? Like they're used to dealing with, when they deal with a public company or they're Googling or whatever, they can find things very easy. They feel like it should be the same way with government, and that is usually not the case.
Yeah. So, how is your campaign being funded, and how does that influence decisions you'll make, and maybe address the perception that developers really have kind of outsized influence on a lot of the directors that we've had historically?
Oh, sure. So my campaign has been primarily funded by friends and family. I have had community members also offer additional donations, for which I'm very thankful. Campaigns are extremely expensive operations to run, although
Yeah.
we're using Facebook ads, boosting posts, email, so that makes it a little, pardon me. But as far as my campaign, I've pledged not to take any developer cash. So, what I hope that tells voters is that I won't be someone who, the developers have the ear of. I'm going in, I want to lead, I want to be on the board to make decisions for the people that are in my district. That means my neighbors, my family, my friends, my opponents and their families, friends, and make the best decision possible for District 4 and the county as a whole. And if a developer approached me and said, let's have a conversation, I would have the conversation, but it's not going to be attached to any dollars.
All right. Sounds good. Let's switch topics a little bit to kind of public safety and homelessness. What do you think of the county's current policies on homelessness? Are they working? Do you have any thoughts on the navigation center or the new site of the navigation center? And what should, the sheriff's role be in, kind of enforcing safety on the homeless population?
Sure. So, I am over by where the navigation center currently is quite frequently as part of my day-to-day job. I mean, they had 2 courts over there. So I drove over there and frequently, and I've noticed a marked reduction in and around Placerville, where my office is, related to homelessness. I know that the sheriff's hot team does a very good, that's homeless outreach team, does a really good job of reaching out to the homeless population and trying to connect them to services, right? And then doesn't take what I'll call sort of corrective action, I suppose, until after they've made several attempts to make this connection to services. And so I think that's a very humane way to work with folks who are homeless.
Mm-hmm.
I support the navigation center. I think that the data, as well as just sort of the common sense that if you want people to not be homeless anymore, you need to make sure that they're stable first, right? Like, Can you imagine trying to get a job while you're worried about where your things are, and while you're worried about where you're going to find a shower and where you're going to be, keep your money? And so I think that that's good policy to help people get back on their feet so that they can get stable, get a job, find a stable place to live, and take care of themselves and their family if they have one.
Yeah.
And then you had a question about whether the sheriff should be involved in that.
Or if we, the navigation center you need to be referred by the sheriff largely, right? So that they, go in and take out a homeless encampment. They need a place to put them. So the navigation center serves that role. You mentioned the hot team as being, one of those services that the sheriff offers. But I'm just, is that enough that the sheriff's office is kind of integrated into that process? Or do we need more enforcement and more spending in the public safety side of things versus, say, the services side?
I mean, at this point, I think the sheriff is doing a good job with that task. So,
I would agree. And I agree with your support of the navigation center, because I do think it's a great transition service that's offered to get people kind of back on their feet slowly and get them reintegrated. Okay, so kind of wrapping up here, what do you think is like one issue that you really differ from your opponents that, your campaign really is going to make the difference?
Well, as far
I think
as
everybody's kind of big on fire safety and Yeah, those sort of things.
Yeah, so I think I probably differ from Mr. Gaines in that I think he's going to be much more pro development, much bigger
Hmm.
developments than I would be.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one area. Mr. Dietz, I don't really know. I did watch your podcast to get ready for this
Hmm.
one. I ran AI to see to get everything I needed out of that. I don't really know what his policies are. I know that he is local, which I like. I mean, I think that
Yeah.
the best thing for the county is to have someone who's been here for a long period of time, grown up here, appreciates what it is that we have as a community in El Dorado County. Ms. Posey, I think she'll likely be a little bit more pro development as well than I would, having trouble grasping what it is that she wants to do because
Hmm.
it seems like it kind of depends on who she's talking to.
Yeah. I haven't had a chance to talk with her during her campaign much. I know her well from the grand jury time, but yeah. Okay, very good. Anything else you want to say that we didn't cover? I don't think we covered what your actual job is besides being on the school board.
Yeah. So I'm an attorney. I've had a practice in downtown Placerville for 5 years.
Okay.
I've been practicing for actually, I think election day, June 2nd, is my attorney birthday. So I think I turn 16 in attorney years that day. I've been doing it for a long time. Mostly, I started with criminal work, criminal defense work, because when I graduated, much like when I graduated from college, I graduated into a terrible economy where many of the larger firms had dumped newish, first 5 year associates onto the market. And so
Hmm.
I started my own practice and got a contract with Lake County representing indigent people as essentially a public defender up there.
Oh, awesome.
And then I spent, I guess, the last 4 or 5 years, my practice has gradually transitioned more towards family work and sort of light civil and estate planning work. When I'm not lawyering, I'm, like I said, the president of the Gold Trail School District Board, a job which I love. And if I make it through the primary, I will regret no longer having because I won't be able to run for that job again. Um, I'm also the president of the El Dorado County Law Library,
Hmm.
which is located over here on Main Street in Placerville. So, and then when I'm not doing all that, I coach my oldest daughter's softball team and root for my kids in their sporting events, take them to school, that kind of thing. So it's really,
Awesome.
it's really great being a dad and tough balancing all this, but I think we found a nice balance going forward.
Yeah, that's awesome. I miss those days because my kids are now kind of college age and not home as much. So yeah, I have time to do this.
Yeah. I've got a staff member today who she has adult children, and she said having adult children is like dating someone who doesn't want to date you.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
great. I can't wait.
Yeah, you definitely have to sweeten the pot a little to get them to come visit. So, what else does anybody need to know? How do they find more about your campaign? Do you have a website or you
Yeah.
have
Yeah. Thank
upcoming
you for that.
events that they should come to?
Yes. So I have a website. It's gregforsupervisor.com. So it's
Okay.
G.
I'll put that on I'll put that in the lower thirds there for you.
Great. Yeah, it's the number 4, greg4supervisor.com. I also have a Facebook page, which I won't give you the URL, but you can link to that from my website.
Okay. Yeah.
Tonight, I will be at Rosie's in Cool, and then the Vineyard Market, which is at Heart to Heart Vineyard on Saturday. When is this going up, Gary?
I'm going to get it out by tomorrow, which is April 10th. I don't think I'm going to be able to get it out tonight because I've got a board meeting myself
Okay.
in a couple of hours. But yeah, anything
Well,
after April 10th.
How about I say this? Just go to my website. I've got a calendar up and you can see all the meet and greets. I think I'm doing 1 a week or 2 a week until June. So I'll be out there. Look for my truck with my signs on the back. You'll know I'm there.
All right. Hey, Greg, it was really good getting to know you a little bit better here. And I'm really glad you're running for the supervisor. And I wish you the best of luck on the rest of your campaign.
Yeah, thanks, Gary. Thanks for the opportunity. This was really fun. My first podcast. Hopefully it's not a dud.
No, we're getting a couple hundred views at least.
All right. I love
every
it.
time. So, all right. Take care, man.
You too, Gary. Bye-bye.